Do you know what can amaze you even more than the flight of an airplane itself? It's life after the sky. Every year, thousands of airplanes are retired worldwide, and some of them become a source of metal for new automobiles or even construction frameworks. One single Boeing 747 contains around 165,000 pounds of aluminum, which can become the future raw material for dozens of other airplanes. Are you curious to learn how engines, which can cost up to $30 million, get a second lease on life? Or how first-class seats turn into part of a home movie theater setup? Are you ready to journey into a realm where technology, ecology, and business converge in one enormous hangar? Let us take off and explore. The first step in a retired airplane's journey is what insiders often call its removal from flight. In fact, this phase is sometimes referred to rather poetically as heading into retirement. Airplanes are retired when they reach a certain age, a certain number of flights, a certain tally of hours in the air, or when they simply become economically unviable to operate. Passenger airplanes typically serve from about 20 years to about 30 years. The metal gradually becomes fatigued from the repeated cycles of takeoff and landing, alongside the persistent air pressure at cruising altitudes. Engineers may detect micro-cracks or other structural issues, making further flights risky. Older airplanes require more frequent maintenance, which becomes expensive. Eventually, the costs of upkeep can overshadow any profit from keeping that aircraft in service. More modern airplanes consume less fuel, are cleaner for the environment, and cost less to operate. For instance, contemporary designs, such as the Boeing 787 or the Airbus A350, are far more efficient than older airplanes like the Boeing 747. International safety standards also keep shifting. If an airplane does not meet new standards and modifications prove too pricey, that airplane is retired. Occasionally, airlines retire airplanes because travel demand declines. During the coronavirus disease 19 pandemic, many older airplanes were retired ahead of their original timelines. Interestingly enough, cargo airplanes can keep flying for a longer period as there are fewer requirements for passenger comfort, and their overall load can be lighter. Yet, sooner or later, even cargo airplanes head into retirement. Once an airplane is ready for disassembly, it is towed to a specialized hangar, where its second chapter really begins. The first priority is the engine. They are, beyond any doubt, the most valuable part. Engineers remove them first, perform detailed inspections, and then either overhaul them for reuse or break them down for spare parts. One of the staff members told me that a single engine can be more expensive than the entire airplane. Can you imagine that? The process starts with engineers reviewing the documentation for both the airplane and the engine. They want to know its overall condition, its servicing history, and whether any special precautions are needed. All fuel, hydraulic fluid, and lubrication systems in the engine are de-energized, with every liquid drained. This step is crucial, since even small amounts of leftover fuel or oil can be a fire hazard. The engine is linked to the airplane by dozens of cables, pipes, and mechanical connections. One at a time, engineers disconnect the electronics, hydraulic lines, and ventilation and cooling systems. All connectors are labeled so that they can be quickly identified whenever the engine is inspected or installed on a different airplane. The cowling is the protective shell around the engine. It is taken off to reach the main components underneath. This cowling is removed very carefully and often sent away on its own for inspection or repair. Engines can weigh several thousand pounds, so they must be firmly supported before removal. Specialized lifting platforms or cranes are used to ensure the engine remains undamaged during detachment. Engines are attached to the wing or fuselage by pylons, which are special mounting structures. Engineers gradually remove these attachments, frequently by hand, using high-precision tools. It is a delicate moment, since a slip can cause damage. Following removal, the engine travels to a service facility for inspection, repairs, or further disassembly. It is secured in a dedicated container that safeguards every part during transport. The engine is the priciest piece of the airplane. Depending on the particular model, it may cost anywhere between $10 million and $30 million. As a result, the removal process is carried out with extreme caution. Often, an engine is not taken off because of a failure, but rather to undergo planned maintenance, or so it can be installed on another airplane. In many cases, engines embark on a new life after refurbishment and upgrades. This underscores yet again that aviation is not just about flying, but also about pragmatic reuse and a certain technological artistry. The next thing that amazed me was the fuselage. The aluminum body of an airplane is not simply chopped into random pieces. Instead, it is sorted, cleaned, and directed toward recycling. This metal can be reborn as part of new airplanes, car parts, or even building materials. By the way, have you ever wondered how much aluminum is inside a single Boeing 747? It is about 165,000 pounds, which is impressive to envision. That quantity could practically spawn an entire fleet of future airplanes. Seats, which we usually see as nothing more than comfortable chairs for our flight, can also be reincarnated. They are repaired and sold to airlines that have tighter budgets. Sometimes they even end up with private buyers. Did you know that first-class seats can be purchased for a home movie theater? That idea is definitely on my personal wish list. Aviation electronics form another treasure trove. Every component, from onboard computers to navigation systems, is extracted and carefully evaluated. These parts often see further use in pilot training simulators or get integrated into other airplanes. Even seemingly small items, such as life vests, seatbelts, or tableware, find new owners. Some of them are turned into unique souvenirs. Do you recall those movies in which people collect aviation memorabilia? That is actually based on reality. Aviation collecting can be quite costly. For instance, the nose section of an airplane or an antique propeller can sell for thousands of dollars. If a piece is historically significant, say it comes from an airplane involved in the Second World War, its value could multiply dramatically. The aspect that left me most astonished was the team's flawless coordination. They moved as if they were dismantling a gigantic construction set, with each part assigned its own special place in the bigger picture. It was almost like a dance involving both machinery and people, all working in harmony to accomplish something meaningful. Think about it. A single airplane can yield up to 50,000 parts. Someone has to track each nut, each bolt, and each panel, making sure everything lands in the right container. Logistics teams then see to it that no part gets lost and that every component reaches its intended destination, whether it is a repair center or a recycling facility. Disassembling an airplane is definitely not a matter of taking it apart and forgetting about it. Proper disposal protocols must be followed for all hazardous substances, such as unused fuel, hydraulic fluids, and batteries. Environmental teams and safety inspectors ensure that every step complies with regulations and safeguards the planet. Having witnessed all this, I am convinced that aviation is so much more than just flying. It is about ecology, business, and even a touch of art. Now, whenever I look up and see an airplane cutting across the sky, I find myself wondering what the future holds for it. How about you? So the next time you watch an airplane soar overhead, remember that even after its final flight, it can transform into something far greater. Imagine this, a house printed in just 24 hours. Sounds like science fiction, right? But it's real. Back in 2018, the United States saw its very first 3D printed house. Today, there are hundreds of these homes, and the numbers keep growing. This technology doesn't just build houses. It's redefining architecture with designs that are both stunning and efficient. And the best part? A home like this could cost as little as $10,000. Ready to see how a giant printer turns concrete into cozy living spaces? Let's dive in. The first 3D printed house in the US appeared in 2018. Now, there are hundreds of these homes, and the count is steadily climbing. Let's start with the basics. 3D printing is a technology that creates objects layer by layer using specific materials. When it comes to houses, this means a massive 3D printer extrudes concrete or other construction materials based on a pre-designed blueprint. Think of squeezing frosting from a piping bag, except instead of frosting, it's concrete, and instead of a cake, it's a fully functional house. These 3D printers are no small feat. They're massive. Imagine a structure the size of a small crane or a garage hangar. For example, Icon, a Texas-based company, uses a system called Vulcan. This printer stands about 11 feet tall and spans over 32 feet in width. Its modular design allows it to expand and adapt to the size of the house being built. The printer operates on rails or special platforms, moving around the construction site. That's why it can print anything from a tiny cottage to a spacious home. Essentially, it's like a large truck, a smart, precise machine that gets the job done with remarkable accuracy. Let me tell you about my visit to one of these construction sites. Icon, based in Texas, invited me to see their house printing process up close. And let me tell you, watching this gigantic printer in action makes you feel like the future is already here. It all begins with architects designing the house on a computer. It's like those 3D renderings you've seen in movies or on designer websites. Depending on the complexity of the design, creating a 3D model can take anywhere from a few hours to several weeks. A simple, single-story house without elaborate details might only take a day or two, but a complex project with unique shapes, energy-efficient features, or intricate interiors, that's a whole different ballgame. Here, architects work closely with engineers to ensure everything checks out. Will the walls hold up under pressure? Are the windows and doors positioned correctly? Are the local climate conditions accounted for? The coolest part? Modern software like AutoCAD, Revit, or SketchUp makes this process faster and allows for detailed visualization of every inch of the house. At the construction site, a massive 3D printer is set up. This printer, essentially a giant robot, moves on rails or with manipulators. It starts printing the house layer by layer. The main material? A special quick-drying concrete that becomes incredibly strong. Once the walls are done, the roof, windows, doors, and other elements are added. At this stage, traditional construction methods are used to finish the house. While the printer can handle the main structure, components like the roof, windows, and doors are typically crafted from traditional materials like wood or metal. For example, the roof might be made of metal or wood, depending on the project. Windows and doors are also custom ordered and installed, using conventional construction techniques. This blend of innovative technology and proven materials ensures homes that are not only efficient, but also comfortable to live in. The entire process takes anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, a stark contrast to traditional construction, which can drag on for months. 3D printed homes have a ton of advantages, making them an increasingly popular choice. For starters, they can be built in just a matter of days. These houses are also significantly cheaper than traditional ones. According to Icon, a small home can cost as little as $10,000. And the designs? They're nothing short of art. This technology also minimizes waste and uses eco-friendly materials. Traditional construction often leads to a lot of leftover materials like concrete, wood, and metal, especially when cutting pieces for doors, windows, or walls. But with a 3D printer, materials are used only where needed. The printer lays down each layer precisely according to the design, leaving no excess material behind. It's not just about efficiency, it's about sustainability too. Many companies involved in 3D construction use materials that have a lower environmental impact. For instance, the concrete might include recycled components or be made with eco-friendlier ingredients, reducing pollution during production. Moreover, precise material calculations mean fewer resources are consumed, eliminating the need for extra stock or creating waste that ends up in landfills. This approach not only saves money, but also significantly reduces the environmental footprint of construction. The technology also opens doors to new types of eco-friendly materials, such as biodegradable concrete that incorporates recycled waste or organic substances. These materials reduce CO2 emissions and the need for extracting new resources. So, 3D printing isn't just speeding up construction, it's making it more sustainable and environmentally friendly. It's not just a trend, it's a real shift in the construction industry, one that could greatly improve our ecological outlook for years to come. Of course, it's not all perfect. The technology is still new and comes with its challenges. Currently, most 3D printed homes are made of concrete. But for more complex designs, new materials will need to be developed. These massive printers are also hard to transport and require specific conditions to operate. Plus, many countries don't yet have clear regulations for constructing such homes. Icon can print a house in just 24 hours. One driving factor behind this technology is its potential to address affordable housing shortages. 3D printing dramatically cuts costs on materials and labor. For example, Icon is working on a project to build homes for low-income families at just $4,000 each. The technology also unlocks incredible possibilities for architects. A 3D printer can create intricate, unconventional shapes that are almost impossible with traditional methods. Architects now have the freedom to design without limits, knowing the printer can handle any form or detail. The future of 3D printed homes looks incredibly bright. These technologies are already being used not just for housing, but also for offices, schools, and even hospitals. Icon is building the first fully 3D printed neighborhoods, including a project in the US in 2021 that delivered 5 homes to financially struggling families. And here's what blew my mind. Icon is working with NASA to print homes on Mars. Imagine that. One day, people might live in 3D printed houses not just on Earth, but on other planets too. Icon was founded in 2017 in Austin, Texas, by a group of engineers and entrepreneurs. Their goal was ambitious, yet simple: to create technology that makes housing fast, affordable, and sustainable, especially for those with limited access to traditional homes. The idea came when the founders realized the construction industry was bogged down by outdated methods and high costs for materials and labor. They envisioned 3D printing as a way to simplify the process, lower costs, and provide homes for those in need. Initially, Icon started as a small startup in the construction sector. It quickly gained traction and attracted major investments. Soon, Icon partnered with the Bjarke Ingels Group to create a groundbreaking 3D printed house, marking a significant milestone in the industry. This was the first house printed using technology that reduced material and labor costs. From there, they scaled up to build larger homes for various social programs. In the following years, Icon secured significant funding from venture capital firms, allowing them to improve their technology and expand production. For instance, in 2020, the company raised $35 million, enabling them to grow their operations and launch new projects. Imagine this. One ship contains up to 20,000 tons of steel. That's the weight of 3 Eiffel Towers. But what happens when these ocean giants retire? Every year, more than 1,000 vessels are sent for recycling, and their materials find new life in bridges, cars, and even other ships. This isn't just dismantling, it's giving metal a second life. Stick around to see how this global process is changing the world. The beginning of the end, or why are ships dismantled? Ocean vessels have an expiration date. On average, that's about 25 to 30 years. After this, maintaining them becomes uneconomical and their structures unsafe. This is where a process, often called shipbreaking, begins. Remember those movie scenes where ships are shattered by waves? Well, no waves are needed here. Just welding tools, massive cranes, and teams of workers who know how to handle these metal giants. First, everything is stripped from the ship: furniture, electronics, pipes, and cables. Even doors and windows. All of this can be recycled or reused. This process is usually carried out by hand, though sometimes specialized equipment is used. Workers physically dismantle the interior of the ship, unscrewing bolts, cutting metal pipes, removing doors, windows, and panels. It's meticulous, labor-intensive work, requiring attention to detail and strict safety protocols. Imagine this. Cables need to be carefully extracted so they can be sold as copper scrap, and chemicals, such as leftover paint or lubricants, must be safely removed. Even furniture is taken apart to salvage wood or metal components. Of course, on large shipyards, workers are aided by mechanical tools, cranes, gas cutters, and sometimes robots to handle hazardous materials. But the bulk of the work is manual labor. That's why, in countries like Bangladesh or India, where labor is cheaper, shipbreaking is so popular. This stage is crucial because properly preparing a ship for dismantling prevents leaks of chemicals and toxic materials that could harm the ecosystem. Oil, fuel, and chemicals all are drained from the ship to avoid environmental contamination. Once the ship's hull is stripped of everything unnecessary, the gas cutters take center stage. Massive, rusty steel walls, the very structures that once kept the ship afloat, are gradually turned into individual pieces of metal. Workers, dressed in protective suits, stand directly on the hull. Their cutters create bright orange sparks, flying in all directions, producing a kind of steel fireworks. It's both mesmerizing and slightly intimidating. The cutter heats the metal to such a high temperature that it literally melts. But it only looks easy. Ships aren't just piles of steel. They're labyrinths of multiple layers of metal. Sometimes workers have to cut through several layers to reach the right spot. Cutting begins with the upper decks. Large sections are first carved out, like chunks of sidewalls, decks, or even parts of the hull, which are then lifted by cranes and loaded onto platforms. From there, they're sent to factories, where the pieces are recycled into new steel or aluminum. But it's not just about cutting, it's about doing it safely. That's why the hull was cleared earlier of any leftover fuel, lubricants, or other hazardous materials. Without this step, gas cutters could trigger explosions. So, this process is not just labor, it's an art that requires strict adherence to safety rules. And of course, all this happens under the blazing sun or in humid coastal climates. Workers quickly adapt to the heat, and even sparks flying at their feet become a routine sight. In the end, they witness the transformation of a massive, once indomitable ship into mere pieces of metal. It's almost like watching a rebirth. Imagine this. Those massive steel blocks that once kept a ship afloat become the foundation for new bridges, buildings, or even other ships. About 90% of a ship's materials can be recycled, and the largest share is steel. A single large ship can yield up to 20,000 tons of this metal. That's the equivalent of 3 Eiffel Towers in weight. Once the ship's hull is cut into pieces, the next thrilling phase begins, transporting the steel to factories. And trust me, it's not as simple as throwing it on a truck and driving off. These metal pieces are usually so large and heavy that they can't be moved by conventional means. Massive cranes, the kind that look like they could lift a ship themselves, dominate the scene. Their long metal arms with hooks or magnetic platforms carefully grab steel sections and lift them off the ground. It's almost like watching giant toys in action, but everything is done with surgical precision, because one mistake could be costly. After that, the steel is loaded onto huge platforms or special trucks. Regular trailers won't cut it here. You need vehicles with reinforced frames capable of bearing tons of weight. Imagine this. One section can weigh several dozen tons. Sometimes, rail cars or barges are used for transport if the factory is near a port or river. This helps cut down on delivery costs because moving steel is no cheap task. The journey to the factory can be long. For example, if a ship is dismantled somewhere in South Asia, its materials might be sent as far as Europe or America. In such cases, the metal is loaded onto ships again, but this time on cargo vessels. Full circle, right? A ship becomes raw material transported by another ship. Once at the factory, the metal is carefully weighed. Every detail matters, from the total weight to the precise composition of the metal, as different alloys require different processing. Only then does the steel head to the melting stage, where its new life begins. This steel will become new construction materials. Ships continue their legacy, not in the ocean, but as skyscrapers or train tracks. But it's not just steel that's valuable. Ship components also contain aluminum, used in car and airplane manufacturing. Wooden elements, rare in modern ships but present in older ones, are restored and sold for decor. Fabric from old seats is sometimes repurposed into bags or even rugs. Isn't that cool? You buy something stylish and later find out, oh, this was on a liner that sailed the Caribbean. But it's not all smooth sailing. Ship recycling can pose environmental risks if done irresponsibly. Ever heard of Alang? It's the world's largest ship recycling yard, located in India. There, ships are literally beached and dismantled by hand. This method is cheap but dangerous. Oil and chemicals can leak into the water, and workers often lack proper protective gear. Recently, however, the world has started paying attention to this issue. More and more ships are being recycled at specialized yards that follow strict environmental standards. For instance, in Europe, regulations require the safe storage and disposal of hazardous materials. The largest ship ever dismantled was a container vessel measuring 1,312 feet in length. Imagine taking apart such a giant. This container ship, Ever Given, became famous in 2021 after blocking the Suez Canal, though its end wasn't due to that incident. When ships of this scale are retired, they're usually sent to one of the world's biggest shipbreaking capitals. Dismantling such a vessel likely took no less than a year, because a mountain of steel, cables, equipment, and other materials is a serious challenge, even for experienced teams. Every piece must not only be cut, but also carefully moved, sorted, and shipped for recycling. At the steel plant I visited, everything starts with thoroughly inspecting the metal pieces. They're cleaned of any paint, rust, lubricants, or other impurities that could affect the quality of the steel. Watch as dozens of hands and machines work to prepare this metal for its next journey. Next, the pieces are shredded, cut into smaller parts that are easier to load into the smelting furnace. The process of cutting metal at steel plants is a spectacle in itself, like something out of a sci-fi movie. Huge workshops filled with sparks, heat, and the hum of machinery. These aren't ordinary scissors. They're powerful hydraulic presses, cutting machines, and even lasers. Each tool plays its part depending on the size and type of metal. First up are hydraulic shears. These massive machines can slice through thick steel like paper. They operate under immense pressure, thousands of tons of force that literally crush and cut the metal. Their crunch echoes throughout the workshop. For finer work, gas or plasma cutters are used. A gas cutter operates by burning fuel. Oxygen and acetylene heat the metal until it melts, and then a stream of gas cuts through it. Plasma cutters are even cooler. They create an electric arc that melts the metal, leaving a clean, precise edge. Then there are laser machines. They work with incredible precision, carving out the tiniest details. The laser beam seems to dance across the metal's surface, leaving behind a smooth, polished cut. This is the technology of the future, already in action at many factories. But this isn't just random cutting. Every step is carefully planned. Metal is sorted by thickness and type to avoid damaging equipment. Larger pieces go through specialized conveyors to the next stage, while smaller ones are sent straight to melting. For melting steel, arc furnaces are used. These massive monsters run on electricity, generating temperatures close to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The metal simply melts, transforming into liquid steel. But that's not all. Special substances, known as ferroalloys, are added to the molten mass to enhance the steel's properties. Need strength? Add vanadium or chromium. Want it lightweight? Add aluminum. It's like cooking, but for engineers. Next, the steel is poured into molds, depending on what it's destined to become. These could be sheets, beams, rebar, or even wire. The castings are cooled, cut, polished, and then shipped off for new projects. Building skyscrapers, bridges, or even new ships, all of this can start with the recycled hull of an old vessel. And isn't it amazing? A ship that once carried thousands of tons of cargo across oceans can become part of a car or the frame for a modern stadium. This second life of steel feels almost magical, doesn't it? Imagine this. Every minute, over 70,000 Oreo cookies are sold worldwide. That's enough to circle the Earth more than 400 times. But what makes them so insanely popular? How do they create that legendary flavor and perfect texture, loved in over 100 countries? Today, we're stepping behind the scenes at one of the world's most famous factories to uncover all the secrets behind this iconic cookie. From its unique design to the creamy filling, let's dive in. The Oreo recipe was first created back in 1912 at a factory in Manhattan. To this day, it remains the most popular cookie in the world. Since its inception, more than 500 billion Oreos have been sold. If you lined them all up, they'd wrap around the Earth over 400 times. Oreo is also one of the most active brands on social media, with over 40 million followers on Facebook and millions of fans on TikTok and Instagram. Campaigns like Twist, Lick, Dunk have gone viral in countless countries. It all begins with high-quality ingredients. Oreo uses premium-grade flour, cocoa powder, sugar, vegetable oils, and a secret blend of flavorings that make every batch unmistakable. But let's face it, ingredients alone aren't magic. They're mixed in precise proportions to form the base for the cookies. Inside the factory, massive mixers, capable of handling hundreds of pounds of dough at a time, work like a culinary orchestra, fast yet precise. Here's where the first secret lies: the cocoa. Oreo uses a specially processed cocoa powder that gives the cookies their rich, deep black color. And no, that shade isn't just from the chocolate, it's the result of a meticulously fine-tuned chemical process. Once the dough is ready, it's time to shape the cookies. This is where a high-tech conveyor system with custom molds steps into action. Yep, every Oreo cookie features a unique pattern, and it's not just for decoration. Each cookie's design is perfectly symmetrical, with 12 flowers, 12 dots, and 90 ridges around the edge. This iconic design hasn't changed since 1952, the year of its one and only redesign. The texture plays a big role in the overall taste experience. The smooth edges hold the cream in place, while the tiny, puzzle-like details add that signature crunch. Here's a fun fact. The machine that stamps the cookies can churn out up to 3,000 pieces per minute. Imagine that pace. Every single detail has to be flawless. Baking Oreos is a true science. The dough travels through an oven line that stretches up to 245 feet long, with the temperature monitored literally at every inch. First, a high temperature helps the cookie hold its shape, and then it's gradually reduced to prevent overdrying. The result? That perfect balance of a tender texture that melts in your mouth while staying satisfyingly crunchy with every bite. Now, let's move on to the filling. The cream for Oreos is made separately, and this process? It's nothing short of modern-day alchemy. Massive mixers whip the cream filling to the perfect consistency you know and love. Here's a little secret. The cream isn't just spread on. It's piped through special rotating nozzles to ensure an even layer. For the classic Oreo, that's a vanilla cream filling. But you already know how many flavors are out there today, right? From strawberry to mint chocolate, each new flavor undergoes rigorous testing before hitting store shelves. The formula for Oreo's cream filling is top secret, with only a handful of people in the world knowing the exact recipe. Now comes the most magical part: joining the two cookie halves. This process, called sandwiching, is performed with incredible precision by machines. Fun fact: every other cookie half is flipped upside down to ensure a smooth connection with the cream. And just like that, in seconds, the iconic sandwich is born, ready to enjoy. Studies show that around 50% of people twist apart their Oreos before eating them. Even more folks dip them in milk. In fact, Oreo is officially considered the perfect cookie for milk. Scientists have even experimented to find the optimal dunk time: 4 seconds. That's just long enough for the cookie to maintain its crunch while melting in your mouth. Every hour, over 1.5 million Oreos are produced in factories worldwide. Once the cookies are ready, they're sorted and sent to the packaging line. Quality checks happen every single time. And yes, there are imperfect cookies. They're sorted out and sent for recycling. Curious how Oreo stays so fresh in its packaging? It's all thanks to vacuum sealing. The packaging is specifically designed to preserve texture and flavor. It's made of multi-layered materials that keep out moisture and air, ensuring the cookies stay crispy. The outer layer of polypropylene provides durability, while the inner layer creates a barrier to protect against oxidation. The key to Oreo's packaging is the vacuum seal. Once the cookies are packed, excess air is removed from inside the bag to eliminate contact with oxygen. This keeps the cookies fresh for up to 9 months, or even longer. Each package is precisely cut to size using high-precision lasers, guaranteeing an airtight seal. You've probably noticed how easy it is to open modern Oreo packages. That's thanks to the peel and reseal closure, which allows you to open and close the package multiple times. This way, the cookies stay fresh even after the first opening. Oreo offers a wide range of packaging options so everyone can find their perfect fit. Standard packs, a classic for the home. Mini Oreos, small, snack-sized packs perfect for on-the-go munching. Mega packs, ideal for those who just can't get enough. And let's not forget individual packs of 2 or 3 cookies. Super convenient for the office or a lunchbox. That iconic blue packaging? It's no accident. The color is associated with freshness, lightness, and happy emotions. Each pack features a photo of the cookie with milk, sparking instant cravings. In some countries, Oreo even includes interactive packaging with QR codes, leading to games, recipes, or videos, adding an extra layer of fun. Recently, Oreo has been working hard to make its packaging more eco-friendly. In 2023, the company began testing recyclable materials for its packs, aiming to reduce the carbon footprint of production. In some countries, fully recyclable packaging is already in use. After packaging, the packs go through special scanners to check for weight and airtight seals. If even the smallest defect is found, the package is pulled from the line. Oreo uses specialized refrigerated containers during transportation to prevent temperature fluctuations. This ensures the filling's texture and the cookie's crunchiness are perfectly preserved. Did you know Oreo is made in over 50 countries and sold in more than 100? Every day, more than 40 million cookies are produced. That's more than the population of some countries. Interestingly, recipes and flavors can vary by region. For example, green tea flavor is a hit in China, while caramel fillings are a favorite in Latin America. Oreo has even been to space. In 2021, the brand sent its cookies to the International Space Station as part of a promotional campaign. And back in 1992, musician Weird Al Yankovic released a song called The White Stuff, a parody of New Kids on the Block's The Right Stuff. The song? A hilarious ode to the creamy filling of Oreo cookies. One of the most creative and fun marketing initiatives by Oreo is the Oreo Stacking Championship. The rules are simple. Participants compete to see who can build the tallest tower of Oreo cookies before it topples. But like everything Oreo touches, this competition transforms into a full-blown event, complete with heroes, records, and even a little drama. The current world record for stacking Oreo cookies stands at 54 cookies in a single tower. This record was set back in 2018 by an American at a local festival in Texas. Typically, records in these competitions range between 30 and 50 cookies because each additional layer makes balancing the structure even harder. Thanks to the cookie's round shape, towers often collapse at the most nerve-wracking moment, when someone tries to add that final cookie. It's all in good fun though, and the laughter from the audience and participants is infectious. At one championship in Japan, the winner was an 85-year-old grandma. She credited her victory to age bringing calm and patience. Oreo is officially recognized as the most popular cookie in the world, outselling all competitors in the cookie and dessert category. What makes Oreo so special? It's not just the flavor and texture, it's the emotions they spark. Admit it, you twist the cookie apart before eating it, right? Or maybe you dip it in milk. In the US, there's a cult-followed ritual for eating Oreos. Twist, lick, dunk. The process involves separating the cookie, licking off the cream, and dunking the rest in milk. Interestingly, women are more likely than men to take their Oreos apart before eating. It's this simplicity and versatility that have made Oreo a favorite for millions. It's a cookie that brings people together because everyone finds their own way to enjoy it. Jingle Bells is already playing nearby, and the holiday season feels closer than ever. Christmas trees and ornaments always bring us warmth and joy. It's impossible to create a festive atmosphere without them. What kind of celebration would it be without colorful glass baubles and a towering Christmas tree in the middle of the room? Today, I'll lift the veil of mystery and share a little insight into how these essential holiday decorations are made. The tradition of decorating trees dates back to pre-Christian times. Ancient European peoples, including the Celts and Germanic tribes, revered evergreen trees as symbols of life, resilience, and renewal. During the winter months, they adorned tree branches with fruits, nuts, and ribbons to appease the spirits of nature. In medieval Europe, Christmas trees began to be associated with Christian celebrations. In the 14th and 15th centuries, The first paradise trees appeared in Germany. These were set up in homes or churches during the Feast of Adam and Eve. They were decorated with red apples, symbolizing the forbidden fruit, as well as bread or wafers, representing abundance. Live Christmas trees can have a significant environmental impact. While the large-scale deforestation that once preceded the holidays is no longer common, since most trees are now grown specifically for this purpose, the trend of replacing real trees with convenient alternatives is gaining momentum. Unlike our ancestors, who had no such option, today's artificial Christmas trees are an excellent, long-lasting choice. A single artificial tree can last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. This reduces the demand for cutting down live trees, helping to preserve forests and contributing to the fight against climate change. The production of artificial Christmas trees is a fairly complex technological process. The first step involves designing the tree. Designers create a model, determining its dimensions, shape, and color. The most common sizes of artificial trees range from approximately 3 to 10 feet, though larger versions are also crafted for public spaces. Safe materials that comply with environmental standards are used in the manufacturing process. Polyvinyl chloride is the primary material used to create the branches, as it effectively imitates natural needles. Metal is utilized for the trunk and frame, providing structural strength and stability. Each year, around 11 tons of polyvinyl chloride and 5.5 tons of metal are used in production. The branches are made by cutting polyvinyl chloride into thin strips. Machines process these strips into fine slivers that resemble needles. The number of these needles on a single branch can range from 500 to 1,000. These slivers are then attached to a metal wire, which is bent into the shape of a branch. Depending on the size of the tree, a single model can include anywhere from 50 to 150 individual branches. Once assembled, the branches are painted using special eco-friendly paints that are free of toxic components. Each production batch can require up to 26 gallons of paint to ensure even coverage. The branches are attached to a frame, which can be either collapsible or solid. On the production line, workers manually secure each branch. Assembling a single medium-sized Christmas tree takes between 1 and 3 hours. In the final stage, every tree undergoes an inspection. This process checks the strength of the attachments, the uniformity of the color, and the stability of the structure. Finished trees are packed into sturdy cardboard boxes. Each box can weigh between 7 and 22 pounds, depending on the size of the tree. I once worked as a courier, and my back nearly gave out when I saw those boxes of finished trees at the factory. The tree is ready, and now it needs to be decorated. In the 18th century, glassblowers in the town of Lauscha began making the first glass Christmas ornaments. Lauscha became the hub of production for these decorations. Initially, the ornaments were simple spheres designed to mimic apples. Later, bells, hearts, and stars were introduced. Today, most ornaments are made of plastic, a practical, economical, less hazardous, and more durable option. These plastic ornaments boast incredible shine, a wide color palette, and resistance to high temperatures. However, their production requires a significant amount of specialized equipment. As with Christmas trees, the process starts with designers creating a model of the ornament. Workers and engineers then develop molds for all the parts of the design. Once tested, the molds are sent to an injection molding machine, where liquid plastic fills the mold. After the plastic cools, the mold is split into 2 parts, and the completed pieces of the ornament, if not made in a single piece, are assembled together. Handling heated plastic isn't exactly pleasant, but the results are absolutely worth it. As a child, my favorite ornaments on the Christmas tree were candy. Amid all the holiday hustle and bustle, I would quietly unwrap the candy, eat it, and leave the foil hanging on the green branch. As an adult, I became curious about how other ornaments are made, especially glass ones. The production of glass Christmas ornaments is a delicate and labor-intensive process that blends craftsmanship, artistry, and modern technology. To create glass baubles, a special type of borosilicate glass is used. This material is resistant to temperature changes and ideal for blowing into shape. Each year, approximately 5 tons of glass are used to sustain production. The glass is supplied in tubes about 3.28 feet long, with diameters ranging from 0.4 to 2 inches. The first step is shaping the forms through glass blowing. This is done manually using gas burners that heat the glass tubes to temperatures exceeding 1,832 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass tube is first heated until it melts, after which the artisan blows into it, shaping it into a sphere or other forms. Crafting a standard 4-inch diameter bauble takes about 3 to 5 minutes. For more complex shapes, such as hearts, bells, or figurines, metal molds are used. The glass is blown into the mold, and once cooled, the piece emerges with a defined relief. A single workshop can produce between 100 and 200 ornaments per day. After shaping, the glass blanks are coated with a silver layer to give them a brilliant shine. This process uses a solution of silver nitrate. The interior of the bauble is filled with the solution and heated to around 176 degrees Fahrenheit. This causes the walls of the ornament to be coated with a thin layer of silver. Producing a batch of 50 ornaments requires approximately 1 gallon of solution. The next step is painting. This is done either by hand or in specialized painting booths. The ornaments are dipped into paint or sprayed with it. A single batch of 100 ornaments may require up to 0.8 gallons of paint. Afterward, the painted blanks are dried in special ovens at approximately 140 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 hours. The most fascinating stage is hand decorating. In countries like the Czech Republic and Germany, the tradition of crafting artisanal handmade ornaments has been preserved. Artisans paint the designs by hand using brushes, adding glitter, or using stencils. Decorating a single ornament can take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. Popular themes include winter landscapes, snowflakes, and fairy tale characters. Glitter is also applied manually using special brushes and tools. A batch of 50 ornaments can require up to 2.2 pounds of glitter. These artisans truly create the magic of Christmas, friends. After completing the decoration process, the toys are fitted with metal caps and loops for hanging. In a single day, a craftsman can attach approximately 200 caps. This task requires focus and meticulous attention to detail to avoid damaging the decorations. A single mistake by one person could deprive hundreds of children of their holiday joy, making this position extremely important. Each toy undergoes an inspection. Craftsmen evaluate it for defects in the glass, paint, or decorations. The finished products are then packed into sturdy cardboard boxes or gift packaging. Depending on the size of the toys, each box can hold between 4 and 10 items. Christmas trees and glass ornaments evoke feelings of coziness, tranquility, and the magic of togetherness within the family. Every decoration, from a vibrant bauble to an elegant bell, can hold a special story, preserving memories in its glittering surface. The glow reflecting the twinkling lights of garlands, the sound of Christmas carols, and the aroma of festive dishes. What could be more enchanting on these cold winter evenings? These elements not only beautify a space, but also fill it with the spirit of a holiday tale that brings people together. At the same time, Christmas trees and ornaments serve as a reminder of the importance of preserving nature and cultural traditions. Modern technology now enables the creation of eco-friendly trees and decorations. For instance, recycled plastic, eco-friendly paints, and biodegradable materials are increasingly used. 3-dimensional printers are also growing in popularity, allowing for the production of unique and customized decor.